I love Homeworld, but I love jank even more, which is why we're going to finish the game and steal everything that we can get our hands on. So it did come as a little bit of a surprise when Gearbox, the publisher of Homeworld Remastered, knocked on the door and told me that they'll give me a bag of money if I tell people that the game is free to own on the Epic's Game Store between July 27th and August 3rd. Now, I probably would have let people know about it anyway, even if they had not asked me about it, but shed money is shed money. So let me check my talking points here. Okay. Okay. So, Homeworld Remastered, which includes the remastered versions of Homeworld, number 1 and number 2. And if you're aching for that original experience, the original versions from the late 90s and early 2000s are included as well, which means that you get to experience some of the earliest really good 3D space strategy games in their original form. And you should probably check it out for nostalgia purposes in any case. There's also a multiplayer beta that they've added, so you can get your friends a copy for free, which means that you can raid their resources and then send battle cruisers to basically ravage their mothership, as you know, it's the way to go, really. Now, I'm 100% for real here. Like, go and get Homeworld Remastered whilst you can. It's one of the best sci-fi experiences ever put to code, and it's available for free from July 27th until August 3rd. Go pick it up. So, aside from all of that, why are we here? Well, jank, of course. Delicious jank. That's why. We're going to play the game in a way the developers probably knew about, but probably did not 100% intend. So let's get started. Homeworld probably has one of the most memorable opening sequences in game history, so I'm not going to spoil that for you here. We're just gonna go and get to the very first thing that we're here for, which is, of course, the salvaging Corvette. Now, this is the best spacecraft in the game, and sadly it got removed for Homeworld 2, but I hear it's back for Homeworld 3. Which is obviously great. Anyway, why is this thing so great? Because of the sheer and utter jank that it can create. Instead of me trying to explain what it does, I've put together a 5-second overview of what I have in mind.
I love stealing. I love taking things.
So yeah, basically what this thing does is it flies towards the enemy, under heavy fire most likely, and steals it. And then brings it back to the mothership for processing. That's essentially the gist of it. I think in general, we're not really going to build that many frigates this particular game. Definitely no destroyers and certainly no cruisers, because we're going to have to crowdsource those with a classic game of hippity-hoppity, your spaceship is now my property. So here I am in mission number 1, taking a drone back to the mothership, and that's pretty much all there is going to be here. I would like to point out that I haven't played Homeworld in about 10 years or so. I've played Homeworld 2 a lot, and all I can remember from this is that A, there's the Garden of Kadesh, and B, salvagers are my friend, which is why I'm making this particular episode. Anyway, we're not going to do much more salvaging in this particular mission, so we're just going to go over to mission number 2 straight away, because there is not much for us to see here at the moment. So, mission number 2, outskirts of Karak. So, apparently we've just done our first hyper jump with our giant space banana, and now it's time to make first contact with one of our ships that went out here around 10 years ago. Guys who have just been slow boating to the edge of the solar system, ready for this particular mission. I'm sure nothing horrible will happen whilst we are out here. Anyway, time to start our mission, and I'm sure our salvagers are going to be super happy with whatever is out here. Good news! We found the ship that we were looking for. Bad news! It's dead. Follow up on that. Other good news, however. There seem to be some cool salvaging targets here that we will take with us. I'm sure nothing will go wrong. These missile corvettes seem to be quite delicious, so we'll take those with us whilst our interceptors and scouts take out the rest. I would like to point out, however, that the scouts and interceptors become pretty useless pretty quickly, and you swap over towards the corvettes only to realize that they're pretty useless as well, which is where you just move over towards frigates. So, yeah, there's that. And there comes the very first one being brought home by my salvage corvette. I hope this is going to be the beginning of a long and fruitful relationship between me, the game, and the salvaging corvettes. I think the irony of having to actually use a salvage corvette properly, and it's like its original intent is this mission, like a sort of lamprey that's hanging off of a giant ass ship. I think that's just hilarious within the grand scheme of things, especially considering what is going to come when we're starting to see some of the larger craft in the game. And that's another one for the collection. And this is what I meant with interceptors and scouts becoming essentially useless at this point in the game, because I could just send my corvettes out and just scoop up any ships that I want, and corvettes can take care of any of the interceptors. Like, these ships are mine now, and there's literally nothing you can do about it. I like to compare this to the time that Liechtenstein went to war, sent 200 people, and came back with 201 because they found a friend from the other side who just came back with them home, and he got to stay. That's how these corvettes are feeling like right now. All 6 of them that I have liberated from the enemy side. Look at this carrier as it tries to jump out, and now I have to go back to Carrick to find out what on earth is going on. So we're in mission number 3. I'm not going to spoil this one, but go ahead and go and grab the game and report back to me once you've played the first 3 missions. Just put your feedback down in the comments below on what you feel about the game. All you need to know about this particular one is that I managed to pick up a bunch of additional enemy frigates. Let's start moving on to number 4, because the wagon train to the stars is about to begin. So mission 4 is really cool because we get the resource controller, which is a special resource ship. And basically, if we set it to guard the resourcers, then basically it will always try to get optimal range between all of them. And that's actually really nice, because basically you could just leave them somewhere and they'll just fly after the resources ship, which is rather nice. So the Space Ferengi have just arrived, and they're offering to sell me ion cannon technology, and I would be foolish to say no to that, because ion cannons are awesome. Who doesn't want to have a giant space laser just shooting everything in sight? Besides, it just absolutely melts capitals, which is something I'm a big proponent of, if I'm not too busy stealing them, that is. I just love the resource controller. I think of all the ships in the game, this probably looks like the most industrial of the bunch. Like, it has like this really realistic look at it that I really enjoy. It's just like mining asteroids, like nice and relaxing. It's pretty sweet gig. And my boys are on their way, salvaging ships left, right, and center, as they should be, because for some reason these tyrannic raiders thought it was a good idea to ambush me, but now they're on the receiving end of a bunch of claps that will take them back to my mothership. I will probably just recycle them, because corvettes at this point in the game are starting to become a little bit useless, in my personal opinion. I'd rather just have frigates just to slap strike craft out of the sky, unless, of course, it is ion bombers, but I haven't unlocked those yet, so we'll get to those soon. Well, hello, gorgeous. Why don't you just join my side instead? Yeah, ion frigates. I do like these. I'm pretty sure they're going to be useless pretty soon, so I'll probably end up recycling them for their resources, but still, you know, it's always nice to have a little bit of additional firepower on your side.
Standing by.
Tyrannic carrier showed up. I tried. I don't think I can turn it into our side, which is a little bit unfortunate, but then again, my brand new ion cannons do need a little bit of target practice, and yeah, I think that should be quite useful. And I think this is probably also going to be like the last time you see the Tyrannic Raiders. For now, they do have like a banging soundtrack though. Very nice indeed. And there you go. That's kind of like the end of the starting session of the game, where you just basically start your wagon train into the stars. Like, we have our mission, we have our hero's journey start sort of thing here, with the Tyrannic Raiders being your first enemy that you find. We've managed to take them down, and now it's off into the wild yonder to see what we can find, because it's time to go and find our homeworld and see what the journey is going to be like. Like I told you, it's like a wagon train to the stars. It's super enjoyable. Mission 5, the Great Wildlands. Now, we're currently in the process of chasing down some people that did some things in Mission 3. Again, if you haven't downloaded the game by now, please go and do so and play at least up till that point, because that's where the story gets super juicy and is basically the impetus of why we're out here. If you have, then you know what this is all about. I'm not going to go into many details on what's going on here. Let's just steal some ships and then move on. because I think the garden's coming up after this, if I'm not entirely mistaken. I did just start recycling all of the ion frigates that I captured in the previous mission. The whole point behind that is I don't want to kill any other frigates. I want to have the opportunity to take them over, and ion frigates are very much frigate killers. So we want to avoid using too many of them. Instead, I'm going to be building assault frigates that will be able to slap strike craft out of the sky. So like your interceptors, your bombers, your scouts. Because I'm not really interested in them. Neither am I in corvettes. We're like totally interested in frigates at this moment. The more we can capture, the better. I haven't seen anything interesting so far. I can confirm that the assault frigates do slap things out of the sky, including resources, which is always nice. But I want something a bit more juicier than just some strike craft. I'm here to chase down some enemies, and I would like to, you know, take their stuff at some point. And we gotta sell some assault frigate customers on the clock here. It's time to send out the salvagers as soon as we can. Hopefully they don't die in the process, which would be a little bit unfortunate, but hey, what can one do? The salvaging life is all about being in the firing line. It's like being a medic, except this medic steals your stuff instead of healing you. It's not like a medic at all, really. Hello, what do we have here? I believe that is a destroyer, a ship type that I cannot build myself yet, which will mean that this is going to make an excellent addition to my collection. Alright, cool. I just killed one of my corvettes, so I need to send out a couple of additional ones. As far as I know, it won't be targeted as long as a bunch of salvaging corvettes are hanging off of it. But it can still fire. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with that. The AI can be a bit wonky sometime. Still, you know, I'm going to add this bad boy to the collection. 2 more destroyers showed up. I sadly could not take them because for some reason they kept on killing my salvaging corvettes. Something about self-preservation taking a more important thing than shooting at others, but who knows what was going on in their minds. Long story short, I had to kill 2 of them, which is a real shame because they would have been a fine addition to my fleet. Instead, this one will have to do for now. Overall, this mission has been a bit of a, you know, I don't want to say a flop. I still managed to take a destroyer with me, but I missed out on a carrier. I'm pretty sure I couldn't even capture that in this particular mission. And I only managed to pick up a couple of corvettes, but I think the overall the mission has been accomplished. We're still taking ships left, right, and center. It's time to move over to mission number 6. Mission 6, Diamond Shoal so far seems to be pretty straightforward. All I have to do is move the ship forward and basically kill off any asteroids that are about to impact with it. And it's very different from anything else. I haven't seen any enemies, and it kind of feels like this is one of those... It's a good example of how the game really functions and feels, because I've used the term wagon train to the stars a couple of times already, but what do I actually mean by that? Well, there is an overarching goal within the game. We have to arrive at the homeworld. We need to arrive at Higara. But in the meantime, there are like 17, 18 missions, and every single one of them cannot just be, oh, we need to fight the Taidan every single time. And actually, like, it feels very episodic in nature, where, oh, in this episode, we're needing to get to the jump point to get to the next thing, but there are asteroids in the way, and we need to go and clean those out. And you can just do an attack move forward with that new destroyer that I picked up the last mission to basically do so, and I really wish that I picked up more of them, but still, that's like kind of beside the point. The thing is that it feels very Battlestar Galactica in a sense, where you have your fleet, your homeworld is done, your 12 worlds of Kobol are all gone, and now we have to take the last remnants of our society and move on into, you know, go back to the homeworld, etc. So it very much feels like that, and still having that episodic content in the meantime is really, really nice. And I really hope that they're going to continue going down that track with Homeworld 3, where something has to happen to really get the story in the motion, and I do really enjoy that. Whilst the fleet was moving through the asteroid thicket, which is probably not the most scientifically accurate thing in the game, but hey, who cares at this point? I managed to build 2 additional destroyers. Again, I really sucked that we didn't manage to pick up more of them in the last mission, but hey, what can one do? Especially with destroyers, you need 4 salvaging corvettes to pick him up, and I believe you need 6 for a carrier. So there's that. I'm really looking forward to capture some more of those, but in the meantime, just build a couple of my own just to supplement that. It would be quite useful. Hey, the 𝗦𝗣𝗣𝗣 have showed up, and they're selling me terrible things. Drone technology is kind of awful. I don't actually think it works quite well. You kind of need to press a separate button for it to be active. It's not that great, and I guess it works against strikecraft, but that's why I have got the flak machines with my assault frigates, so sure, I'll buy it, but it's not going to be the most useful thing in the game. I do hope that next up is going to be the gardens. Like, I've been craving the gardens for a while.
This is the garden of Kadesh. For 13 generations we have protected it from the unclean. The tyrannic raiders who came before you refused to join and were punished for this trespass. Like theirs, your ship has already defiled this holy place. If you have come to join, we welcome you, and will spare you your ship until all have disembarked. If you have come to consume the garden, you will be removed at once. What are your intentions?
The Garden of Kadesh. Probably one of the most interesting missions in the game, in that it's very different from everything else. Basically, this particular mission, you have this species that's been living inside of this nebula for quite some time, but that's not really what's the important part. The important part is that the mission kind of reuses mechanics from Homeworld 1 that are no longer in the Remastered, and that has to do with the ships that the Kadeshi have and these fuel pods. Now, in the original Homeworld, all ships had fuel, and I believe they also had ammo, I believe. And that's still kind of reflected here, because if you destroy the fuel pods, the Kadeshi ships will run out of fuel, and they will basically be sitting ducks, which is essentially the strategy here. And you can steal stuff. Not doing it really at the moment in this particular case, which is kind of unfortunate because their multi-beam corvettes are kind of nice. But still, you know, it's still very cool to see, and their mothership is sexy. Like, that's one sexy Space Needle, if you ask me. Alright, they're running away. So their mothership kind of got overwhelmed by my attack frigates, which is perfectly fine. You know, there's not much that can handle those. And now it's time to move on. Kadesh, again, it's one of my favorite missions. There's just not a lot of stuff to steal here, which is unfortunate for our salvaging corvettes. I'm sure more interesting stuff will pop up in the future. But still, again, the game uses interesting mechanics to tell these intermittent stories. Again, like, it's very episodic in nature, which means that you could essentially, if this game was being released today, they'll just be adding episodes like every 2 weeks or so and just make the missions in game. Like, super nice. I completely forgot that there is a second part to the Kadeshi bit. This is the Cathedral of Kadesh. Apparently they did some hyperspace interdiction on my mothership, and now they're attacking me again, and this is like in their lair, so to speak, so we'll see what we can find in here. Completely forgot there was a second part to the whole Kadeshi bit. What's better than killing one enemy mothership? Yeah, it's killing 3 enemy motherships, because apparently there is 3 in total of them, and this one is trying to run away over towards a little wreckage that's on the other side of the map, and my destroyers and frigates can barely keep up, because apparently this thing runs on hyperspace or something. It moves pretty darn fast for something that is that big. You're a sitting duck now, and it's over. Good. It's the end of the mission. Hyperspace inhibitors been removed. We can get out of the cathedral and move on with our lives. Thank God. This is very much like a 2-episode part of a series. Like it's like a season of Star Trek, and there's like a mid-season double header, like a year of hell or something along those lines. Very nice. I do like this sort of stuff, but now it's time to move on and go to our homeworld. Alright, the Sea of Lost Souls. We got something on our scopes, so apparently we need to go ahead and kill something, so time to move all the battleships over there, as well as the frigates, and get all the strike craft in range as well, because if there's any capitals, it would be nice, and of course, you know, salvaging corvettes on standby to take them back home.
Attack bomber complete.
Is that a free missile destroyer that I spot there? Well, we're gonna just need to take that bad boy with us then, I guess. This enemy ship just stole one of our destroyers. That's my job. Alright, we're just gonna need to fall back for now, because let's not have us steal even more. Correction, make that 2 destroyers, which I'm now going to need to blow up. Great. Just fine. Can I just send my strike craft over to... I'm just gonna go ahead and send my strike craft to kill this this thing. Maybe that'll help. So I sent my bombers to kill whatever is sending the signal to my destroyers, and the destroyer, as well as the, you know, the missile destroyer that was there before, have decided to turn around just to shoot at my strike craft, which is fine because at least I'm not shooting at my mothership. The missile destroyer, however, is kind of taking my attack bombers rather alive, which is not great. Not great at all. Oh great, and now they're killing my salvagers. Why does this have to be so painful? Next time I'm just gonna send some scouts in just to distract whatever is shooting them, and then I'll just send the salvagers in afterwards or something. Turns out that if you kill the big ship, you can get control back of your ships, plus whatever it was controlling at the same time, which means we now have a missile destroyer, and we can build other ones as well, which is rather helpful. So no longer will I need any sort of attack craft anymore against strikers, because the missile destroyer will just slap any interceptors and bombers out of the sky. Time to go to the next mission. This is Supernova. Apparently this is an area in space where there is a supernova 200 light years away, and apparently that's causing issues with the environment and kills anything nearby. I would like to point out, if their supernova kills stuff 200 light years away, that's one powerful supernova. Not entirely sure what the science is behind it. Anyway, what it means is I cannot use any strike craft or corvettes in this particular mission, which means that I need to have a capital ball of destroyers and frigates to go down these paths of dust in space to go to an enemy base. But that means that we cannot do any capturing this mission, which is unfortunate. I completely forgot this was a thing. Apparently there's mine layer corvettes in this game, which shred strike craft. Thankfully this is a capital ball, so nothing really damaging is going to happen here. It's a nice idea, but at this point in the game it's probably a little bit too late to to do stuff like this, because my destroyers will just ram through them without issue. What is that? It's a heavy cruiser. I need it. I need it so bad, and I cannot send any corvettes over here because they will die. So no salvaging. I need this thing so bad. It just hits so hard. Like, it's just shredded a whole flight of my frigates without like having a sweat. That's awesome. Where can I get one? And is it like a catalog or something that I can write on? Like, it's like a Christmas catalog. I just want to circle it, and maybe my parents can buy one for me. I finally managed to beat it. It's chunky as hell, and I love everything about it. So I'm approaching the end of the mission here. I have to destroy this platform, and it's guarded by a bunch of defenders as well as a bunch of ion frigates. I can take those, no problem. Obviously, can't send salvaging corvettes because they will blow up if they get outside of the dust tunnels. The thing is, though, as soon as you start attacking the facility, all enemy ships on the map will start converging on top of it, so in order to defend it. The thing is, they don't go through the dust tunnels, which means that they will either arrive super damaged or they'll just blow up before they even get there. So yeah, that's a thing. That's actually kind of low-key hilarious. And that's the platform destroyed. Mission complete. It's time to move on. I feel that we're starting to get to the end of the game here because mission 10 this was, I believe. Which means that there's like 5 or 6 more missions left in the game. And I just saw a ship I've never seen before, and I would not be surprised if that's like the end of the thing, because I've played a lot of Homeworld 2, and they had battle cruisers in that thing, and those things, mwah, those are some of the good stuff. So I do hope that these heavy cruisers are somewhat similar. 10 Hauser gates. So that's a reference to Blade Runner when 𝗦𝗣𝗥𝗔𝗖𝗘, I think his name is, the replicant. Put your suggestions down in the comments below whether or not I was actually right about that. But yeah, 10 Hauser gates, attack ships on fire, tears in the rain, etc., etc. That's what that refers to. So we'll see whether or not there's any horrible loss in this particular thing, because yeah, if stuff dies here, then I guess the name makes sense. Okay, so I guess the 𝗦𝗔𝗖𝗘 are doing the dying, and oh my god, that's a battle cruiser. Okay, quickly grab all the salvaging corvettes and intercept. I need that thing. It needs to be in my fleet now, this very instant. Also, it probably does like most of the damage to the 𝗦𝗔𝗖𝗘 right now, so getting it off of the field is probably a good idea, and it's super tanky, so time for some hippity-hoppity shenanigans on this bad boy. I like how I send out 13 salvaging corvettes towards this cruiser, because that's how desperate I am to having it. If one of them dies, another one will jump into the breach. That's how it's going to work, guys. I don't care about this destroyer. I don't care about these ion frigates. If one of you dies, somebody else jumps in. This is enemy of the gates material over here. One of you is carrying the rifle. The other one is carrying the ammo. If one of you dies, somebody else jumps in. Let's go. Let's take this bad boy home. One of the corvettes on my heavy cruiser, soon-to-be heavy cruiser, has died, which means there's 5 of them, and it's just kind of leaving it still in space. But in the meantime, I am trying to cap at least a bunch of other ones, so at least I can get this destroyer with me. But this cruiser, I need it. Just additional firepower. Give me the chunk. Give me the jank. Ah, yes. This is why I play games like this, for just stuff like this. Who cares about shooting enemies when instead you can just vololo and just take them with you? That's the good stuff. Is it just me, or does it just look better with the blue skin on it instead of the yellow one? Like, not gonna lie, that 𝗦𝗥𝗔𝗖𝗘 logo looks pretty darn good. And with a battle cruiser in tow, it's time to go towards the next mission. I would like to steal some more, please. The next mission, Galactic Core, is supposed to be one of those things where the enemy throws everything at you and you're supposed to hold your ground. Instead, what I did was take their carrier, take their battle cruiser, and everything else that was nailed to the ground. It was kind of like one of those claw machines at the carnival, and just my salvage corvettes are just grabbing what I want off the shelf and just discarding everything that's just not really interesting. Yeah. I do love the fact that I'm trying to steal this carrier, and the model seems to be so big that it doesn't actually fit inside the mothership, so it's just cramming itself in there, almost like you never were really intended to steal carriers and then turning into yours. But hey, you know, what are you gonna do? That carrier is mine now. Pretty straightforward. Let's move on towards the graveyard. Karos Graveyard is probably the last mission in the game that really has a gimmick attached to it. It technically is not, but it's pretty much a gimmicky one. We need to cross this place to get to the Homeworld. The main thing is that there is a scrapyard dog here that will steal your ships. and then turn them basically into your own, which is not good. So you need to send all your corvettes on an attack move across the system to get to the control center before you can move on. There is literally nothing to steal here, and if you go in with frigates or any sort of heavy ships, they'll just get stolen by the scrapyard dog. And it's so strong, it's got so much armor on it, it's so fast, there's nothing you can do about it. So this attack move to the scrapyard station. And then it's time for my favorite mission in the game, or at least objectively the favorite mission in the game. It's the Bridge of Sighs. It's extremely long. Why is it extremely long? Because it has about 1 million different ion frigates in this system for you to engage. And I think I played this for about 4 hours. I don't know, maybe 3 hours before I completed it. That did not happen to do so much with the fact that I killed everything, but more that I did not just steal one, not two, but 31 ion cannons, as well as a carrier and another battle cruiser. And yeah, we're knocking on the door of the Homeworld, and the 𝗦𝗣𝗏 can't do really anything about it, because now I've got a capital ball so big that it doesn't matter what I do, I will one-shot basically everything with my acquired fleet. Thanks, guys. Thanks for throwing all this stuff at me. How did I do this? Well, it turns out that because there are so many ships in this map, the AI is a bit wonky, so you send your scouts to attack the ion frigates. They can't shoot them because they can't track them, but they'll be so occupied with the scouts themselves that you can just send in your salvaging corvettes to steal every single last one of them. I love stuff like this. This is the jank that I come for. Mission number 15, the penultimate mission. Why is this one so short? It's only like 4 or 5 minutes long. It's kind of crazy how it is. There's just no time to steal anything. Turns out, remember those asteroids from Mission 6 or Mission 7 or something along those lines? Yeah, that was a warm-up for just this, because the 𝗦𝗏 are sending a giant rock in your general direction, as well as a ton of different ships, and you're going to need to intercept this rock before it kills your mothership. Yeah, that's problematic. So we're going to need to do something about that, and hopefully we can do so. And you only have 5 minutes to do it. Thankfully, I've got a ton of capitals. So we're just going to kill everything in sight and then focus ions on those asteroids. Asteroid completely destroyed. It's time to immediately jump out of here and go to the final mission. 𝗦𝗏, the thing that we've worked on for so long, is finally here, and now we've got a capital ball so big that nothing can really stop us anymore. 𝗦𝗏, the final mission. The enemy sends out like 1 million different ships towards your motherships, and you need to just crank out healing corvettes to keep your home mothership alive as much as possible. And then after the rewards, it's just send your capital ball towards the enemy. I think it's relatively straightforward at that point. You need to kill the enemy mothership. It's very easy. Of course, you know, we took the opportunity to steal 2 more heavy cruisers whilst my main fleet was on their way, and yeah, just killed them super quickly. The one thing you probably will need to be super careful about, or at least something that I had to be super careful about, was reinforcements that pop up behind enemy lines. So don't send your entire capital ball, just most of it towards the enemy mothership. Just take it down. There it is. Credits roll. I always thought that the ending of the game was a little bit underwhelming, unlike Homeworld's 2 ending, which is just crazy. This is just rush the enemy gates, kill the king, and win the game. That's essentially what it is. And that's nothing wrong with that. It's very similar to other games that came out at the time. And yeah, it's the end of the journey, so to speak. And yeah, it's definitely an interesting ending to a rather tumultuous campaign. Very much, as I mentioned before, a wagon train to the stars. I want to thank Gearbox for reaching out to me to do this promotion. Homeworld is really something that I've spent a lot of time with when I was younger, and looking back at the game is just such a blast, and I'm really looking forward for other people to start playing this game. Let me know down in the comments below. Go and grab this game. What is your experience? How do you feel at this game? Is it different from anything else that you've played so far? Or do you think that maybe, you know, it's too old and maybe I'm not too interested in it? Who knows? Let me know down in the comments below. In the meantime, though, thank you so much for watching. We're going to go and wrap it up here. Go and download the game, and we'll take it from there. Until next time, take good care of yourselves, and as always, each other.